We all want to improve something or maybe learn new skills. And I thought I'm gonna tell you about the specific type of practice that really helps you get better. You know, they say practice makes perfect, and they also say you need 10,000 hours to reach the expert level. Both of those things are not exactly right. I can tell you where they came from, and I will tell you about this type of practice that does help you improve, so you won't waste your time anymore with bad, mindless type of practice. This practice, it's called deliberate practice, and let's jump in. First, I want to tell you a story that highlights 5 elements of deliberate practice. See if you can recognize them, and then I will highlight them after the story. The story is from my life, 2019. In August, or I think it was end of July, a dancer from salsa scene asked me if I would like to dance on salsa competitions with him. I said yes, because I thought I could learn and improve my dance skills quite a lot. And it would be a new experience for me, something I would have never had a chance to do before. And since then, my approach to dancing changed. Instead of going twice a week or 3 times a week to the salsa club just to dance and enjoy the music and dance mindlessly, we would meet also in a dance studio in a room, and we would be practicing there. We would be repeating the same type of movements, whether it were like, some complicated figures or new figures we wanted to learn, or a combination of them. We would sometimes vary them. We would dance to fast songs and slow songs, all the same type of figures in different settings. So this is how our practice looked like. And after repeating it for a couple of weeks, meeting like 3-4 times a week, and also dancing in the dance clubs in a different type of setting and dance floor, we would also ask for private hours to the instructor from a salsa class, a salsa school in Innsbruck, and they would also give us some tweaks, some figures to improve our choreography in order to then dance even better and have a more round piece. All these efforts led to us winning the Grand Prix Salsa in November 2019. And everything I said tells you about 5 elements of deliberate practice. So what is the deliberate practice? It's a structured way of improving yourself. It's individual, and it aims at improving the performance. So that's already different from the mindless type of practice. We all engage in deliberate practice when we start learning new skills, because we need to have a lot of focus and be very, very present. Once we reach a certain level of skill, we start practicing mindlessly. Maybe we want to improve running, and instead of focusing on our body, we just, the body moves and our brain is somewhere else doing something else, for example. So what are the 5 elements of deliberate practice? Maybe you already recognize some of them in that dance story of mine. The first one is specific and challenging goals. As opposed to the mindless dance practice, which was just going to the club and dancing, whatever, this training for competition had a specific goal to create a choreography and dance it perfectly. And that meant every time we met was perfecting the figures that we would include in our choreography, looking for new figures that would fit, trying to optimize some transitions between them. And there was always a specific goal. These goals would actually need to be at the edge of your proficiency. So it's not the goal of dancing the same thing all over again. To give you a different example, if you would learn a language, you might want to learn 10 words a day and learn 10 new words each day. That kind of brings you out of your comfort zone, and you continue improving and increase your proficiency. If you have a goal of just repeating the same 10 words every single day, you will not improve your skills at all. So the specific challenging goals that are kind of on the edge between your comfort zone and something new. The second element of deliberate practice is full concentration and effort. This is why experts usually cannot sustain this type of practice for extended amounts of time, because this is really the hardest element to get. Of course, in mindless practice, you can just keep on going because you're not 100% concentrated. But with deliberate practice, it makes sense to be fully concentrated, maybe for 20 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe 2, if you're already a bit more advanced. However, you will need to take breaks so you can sustain this concentration. The third element is repetition. They say use it or lose it, and that applies to skills as well. If you don't apply your skill, if you don't polish it, you're gonna slowly forget it or it will get rusty. So in case of dancing, of course, we were there like 4 or 5 times a week. I kind of feel like I was every day in my fitness studio when I reflect back to that year. You need to build your muscle memory, you need to build the neuron connections in your brain. So it's very, very important to be systematic there. And actually, in the whole misconception about deliberate practice, the repetition and systematicity and being structured about it is one big element that was carried forward. I'll come back to that, what was carried forward and what were the myths. The fourth element is immediate feedback. You see, with dancing, we always had a mirror. So we could immediately see how we move, what we could improve, and so on. And we would also give each other feedback immediately. Like if the turn was, too hard, too rough, or I moved too much, or I wasn't stable enough, whatever it was, we would immediately communicate it to each other and we would try again to fix this problem. So it's feedback and fix, constant loop of this. This is why it's important sometimes to rely on a coach or a mentor, because these people can give you exact elements where you need to pay attention to. And if you don't get it, you might subconsciously repeat or like unconsciously repeat the same mistakes all over again. If you want to learn something on your own, I encourage you to look for ways to find this immediate feedback, whether it's tracking your movements or speed or heart rate in case of trying to improve in sports. Or if you learn a new language, find some books or some materials that immediately correct you. So it could be a Duolingo app again, or it could be a book. Like when I was learning German, there was this grammar exercise book with answers at the end. And after each exercise, which were like 10 sentences, I would look at the key and compare my answers and immediately could rewrite the thinking that my brain gave me as an answer. So I wouldn't repeat the mistakes and I wouldn't make my mistakes into habits unconsciously. So immediate feedback is very, very important. Fifth element is to modify this practice. So, if I'm dancing, I might be able to execute one move perfectly to one song in one room, but it doesn't make me an expert. Ideally, I'm able to perform exactly on the same level in a different setting to different songs, different speeds, with different dance partners. And that's what makes me an expert or a good dancer. And that's exactly why you need to modify your practice. So let's recap the elements: goals, focus, repetition, feedback, and modification. So you have specific challenging goals on your edge, focus and effort, full concentration. You have repetition, being structured, and immediate feedback, trying to improve your mistakes immediately or relying on coach or mentor, and modification of practice. You can use these 5 elements to design your own type of learning journey or practice, or you can rely on a coach or a mentor to move you forward. So now we covered that. I want to address a couple of myths. Practice makes perfect, and you need 10,000 hours to become an expert. Deliberate practice is a concept that's been introduced in the Cambridge Handbook of Expertise and Expert Performance. This book is over 900 pages, and it consists of research by over 100 scientists, all about expertise and different domains: music, sports, chess, all kinds of stuff. This book proves indeed that practice does make perfect, because most of those experts were trained and not born. There is a lot of research confirming that. So you can really become an expert in anything if you really stay consistent and practice in the specific way, certain way, using these elements from deliberate practice, for example. The second point I wanted to address is the 10,000 hours myth. You don't need 10,000 hours. It actually was included in one of the studies, and it was an average. It was in a specific domain. I think it was music, and it was 10,000 hours of deliberate practice, not any type of practice, not me dancing for a decade in the dance club and not trying for competitions. So this 10,000 hours as a number got popularized through a book by Malcolm Gladwell. I really love his books. This book is called Outliers. However, it was not really reflecting the science so accurately, because 10,000 hours was referred to deliberate practice specifically. I'm not even sure if he uses this term in his book, and it was an average. In case of learning, there is some individual variations. Apparently, the individual variation accounts for like 14%, I think, of performance differences. So it's not that much about being born, it's more really about the quality of our learning processes. So remember this when you adapt yourself, because that means, this science means, everything I told you today means that you can become an expert at something. You can improve tremendously if you just keep going consistently with focus, with right feedback, with right elements of your practice. And that's what I wish you in 2023. Let me know in the comments which of those elements were the ones that you expected and what was new. Greetings from Cardiff. Bye.